Picture this for a second. You boot up your computer, like you always do, the same familiar logo, the same desktop, the same updates you didn't ask for installing in the background, and everything feels normal. But while you're going through your routine, something massive is happening quietly behind the scenes. A shift, not loud, not dramatic, but steady and unstoppable. And if you follow the numbers closely, if you look past the marketing, if you watch what developers, companies, and even governments are actually choosing, you start to notice something surprising. Linux isn't just alive, it's growing fast, faster than most people realize. And it's growing in places that Microsoft would really prefer you didn't look. For years, we were told the same story. Windows equals computers. Linux equals nerds. In dark rooms typing commands. That narrative stuck, because it was simple. Windows came pre-installed on almost every laptop. Schools taught it. Offices depended on it. Games were built for it. So most people never questioned it. Why would they? But here's the thing nobody talks about. Dominance in tech doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes slowly, quietly. One decision at a time, one developer at a time, one server at a time. And that's exactly what's happening right now. If you zoom out and look at the internet itself, the websites you visit every day, the apps you rely on, the streaming services, the cloud storage, the social media platforms, most of them aren't running on Windows servers. They're running Linux. Massive data centers, entire cloud infrastructures, billions of devices, all powered by Linux. Companies like Amazon, Google, and Facebook didn't build their empires on Windows. They built them on Linux because it's flexible, lightweight, secure, and free to customize. And when the biggest tech companies on Earth choose something other than Windows for their core systems, that should tell you something. Now think about developers. The people actually building the future. Ask almost any programmer what they prefer to use. More and more, the answer isn't Windows. It's Linux, or macOS, which underneath is basically Unix. Why? Because Linux gives them control. Real control. You can tweak everything, automate anything, install exactly what you need, and nothing more. No forced updates in the middle of your work. No mystery background processes eating RAM. No license keys or activation headaches. Just a system that does what you tell it to do. For someone who builds software for a living, that's gold. Meanwhile, Windows has been moving in the opposite direction. More restrictions, more telemetry, more ads inside the operating system itself. Start menu suggestions, sponsored apps, pop-ups asking you to try this service or that subscription. It's subtle, but it changes the feeling of the computer. It stops feeling like your machine and starts feeling like rented space, like you're borrowing it from Microsoft. And people are starting to notice that. Then there's performance. Take an older laptop, something 5 or 6 years old, that struggles with the latest version of Windows. It feels slow, heavy, bloated. Now install a lightweight Linux distribution on the same hardware. Suddenly, it's fast again. Boot times drop. Apps open instantly. Fans stay quiet. It feels like you just bought a new computer. For students, for people on tight budgets, for schools in developing countries, that difference is huge. Instead of throwing away old hardware, Linux gives it a second life. That's not just convenient. It's transformative. And here's where it gets really interesting. Gaming. For the longest time, gaming was Windows' strongest weapon. If you wanted to play the latest AAA titles, Windows wasn't optional. It was required. That kept millions of people locked in. But recently, that wall has started cracking. Thanks to projects like Proton and Steam's massive investment in Linux compatibility, thousands of Windows games now run on Linux with almost no effort. You click install and play. That's it. The excuse that Linux can't game is fading fast. And when gamers realize they can get the same performance without Windows, a lot of them start asking uncomfortable questions. And let's talk about privacy. This one hits differently. Every year, people become more aware of how much data big tech collects. Windows has built-in telemetry that most users don't fully understand or control. Data about usage, behavior, diagnostics. Even if it's anonymized, it still feels invasive. Linux, on the other hand, doesn't spy on you by default. Most distributions collect nothing unless you explicitly agree. It's your system, your data. Period. In an era where digital privacy matters more than ever, that's a powerful selling point. Here's something else Microsoft probably doesn't love. Education. Universities and coding boot camps increasingly teach Linux. Cybersecurity students use it. DevOps engineers use it. Cloud engineers use it. The next generation of tech workers is growing up comfortable with Linux from day one. So when they enter the workforce, guess what they choose for their personal machines, and often recommend for their teams? Not Windows. Habits formed early tend to stick. That pipeline alone is shaping the future market. Even governments are taking notice. Several countries have explored, or fully adopted, Linux-based systems for public institutions to avoid expensive licensing fees and dependence on a single foreign corporation. From a national perspective, open source means control and sovereignty. You can audit the code, modify it, secure it yourself. You're not waiting for a company thousands of miles away to fix critical issues. That independence is incredibly attractive, especially when budgets are tight and security is critical. And yet, if you only follow mainstream advertising, you'd never hear about this growth. You'll see flashy Windows ads, AI features, new logos, new buzzwords. But you won't see commercials for Linux. There's no billion-dollar marketing machine behind it. Linux grows differently, through communities. Word of mouth, YouTube tutorials, GitHub projects, friends helping friends install it. It spreads because people try it and go, wait, this is actually good. That kind of organic growth is hard to stop. Ironically, Microsoft itself seems to know this. Look at their behavior. Windows subsystem for Linux. Azure, heavily supporting Linux workloads. Microsoft contributing to open source projects. Even shipping their own Linux-based tools. They're not fighting Linux head-on anymore. They're embracing it where they can, because they know resisting it completely is impossible. When the world's biggest Windows company starts integrating Linux everywhere, that's not confidence. That's adaptation. But here's the twist. Even with all this growth, most everyday users still haven't tried Linux. Not because it's bad, but because inertia is powerful. People stick with what's familiar. That's the only thing keeping Windows on top for many home users. Not superiority, not necessity, just habit. And habits can change quickly once someone realizes there's a real alternative. Imagine millions of people discovering they don't actually need Windows. That their browser, their documents, their media, their games, all work fine elsewhere. That their computer can be faster, quieter, and more private. Once that realization spreads, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle. Because once you taste that freedom, going back feels restrictive. So when you hear that Linux is just for servers or too complicated, remember that those ideas are outdated. The Linux of today is polished, beginner-friendly, and surprisingly smooth. Install it, and you might be shocked how little you miss Windows. For many people, the answer is nothing at all. And maybe that's what Microsoft doesn't want you to see. Not some secret conspiracy. Not hidden numbers. Just a simple truth. Linux isn't a niche hobby anymore. It's a legitimate, growing alternative that's quietly taking over the parts of computing that really matter. Servers, cloud, development, education, even gaming. The foundation of the digital world is already Linux. The desktop is just the last domino. And once that domino falls, once average users realize they have a choice, the balance could shift faster than anyone expects, because history shows us something important. When a free, open, customizable tool becomes good enough, it doesn't just compete, it wins. Not with flashy ads, not with forced updates, but with trust. So next time you boot your PC and see that familiar Windows logo, just remember, somewhere out there, millions of people are switching quietly. Old laptops getting revived. Servers humming along. Games launching flawlessly. Developers building the future. All on Linux. No drama, no headlines, just steady growth. And sometimes the biggest revolutions are the ones nobody talks about until it's too late.